tzaddik of Likkutei Torah, Parshas Maasei and Bamidbar. So now base, the end of Peites. Why, with the 42 journeys, are there 42, which is the completion of 6 spheres, 6 times 7, whereas with the Sfiras Omer, there's 49 steps, 49 days, which is 7 times 7. So the difference is that the journeys are going up, whereas Sfiras Omer is bringing Hashem down. So bring Hashem down, we want to bring the whole way down, including Malchus as well. Whereas going up, we want to elevate beyond Malchus. Now there's a Zohar which hints at this idea of that while pregnant, in a state of pregnancy, Malchus is only a point at the end of the midas, whereas after birth, Malchus develops fully itself. And this is because Malchus is a very unique sphere, a unique spiritual energy. On one hand, it represents receiving and taking in from all the higher aspects of the person. The person has his intellect and his emotions and his commitment and drive to action. And then Malchus is what sort of receives all of that, and then sort of thinks that through, absorbs what's going on, and then gives it over or acts on it. So the first half of Malchus is about being a recipient, and then the second half then extends that outward and gives it over, speaks about it, or does something as a result. Now, explains also in the Maimer itself before the spear that when we want to elevate up, so Malchus is not included as a separate category because we want to elevate beyond Malchus. And that's related to how Klippa tries to get it energized, and gets energized from wherever it can find a sense of ego and a sense of separateness, independence. And that is more within emotions than within intellect, because intellect is just facts, whereas emotions is how I feel about it, and therefore it's more ego, and therefore leaves space for Klippa to sustain itself and take root. Over to the second column of tzaddik. Journeys from the desert, through the desert towards Eretz Yisrael. The desert is a place of Klippa, and it was all about elevating beyond and subduing that Klippa, stopping it from being able to sustain itself from the leftover light of the side of holiness. And Klippa can only get its highest when there's a sense of yeshus, a sense of ego. So that explains why Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, at the end of his life, he said, I don't know which way they're taking me. Will I go to Gan Eden, like to paradise, or to hell? The reason he didn't know is because he didn't know if he had worked properly on Ava and Yira, on love and reverence of Hashem. The reason he didn't know is because his love and reverence was a sort of a detail within his thinking and meditating, reflecting on Hashem. It wasn't a separate sense of love and passion that was very noticeable and obvious. It was very humble and subtle, as it is when it is within intellect. And therefore he didn't know if he had fulfilled his mission on earth properly. Because if he hadn't had developed a love and reverence of Hashem, then he would be worthy of some sort of consequence, especially at his level. Now, this explains an interesting story where Yosef hides his goblet in Binyamin's sack. Now, Yosef represents the tzaddik beyond the world, and Binyamin represents the tzaddik within the world, what we might call the Beinoni of Tanya. And when the cup is this cup of passion that Yosef is giving, the cup of wine, so he's giving to Binyamin, meaning that even the lower neshamas from within the world, they too can have passion for Hashem. Now this takes us over the page. Now, still, Yosef hid it in his sack. He didn't tell him, because if he would tell Binyamin, that you've got this high level of Ava inside you, then that would create a sense of ego, and that would ruin the whole thing. But wait a sec. The Maimer asks, wouldn't Binyamin have noticed that he suddenly has this great ava and yira, this great love and reverence of Hashem? The answer is no, because if the love and reverence is a sort of a detail within the meditation, it's not so noticeable. It's humble and subtle, and therefore he wouldn't notice, and therefore he wouldn't sort of get this ego boost, which would ruin the whole thing. By noticing that he has developed this ava and yira, this love and reverence of Hashem. Now, he explains that in Eis Gimel, especially about Netzach and Hod, and how they are the commitment after when one's no longer feeling inspired, but he still sticks to his commitment that of what he was feeling, the same action plan that he created when he was feeling that passion towards Hashem. Now, in the final column of Tzaddik, so when a person understands to a certain degree, he might not be able to explain, but when he understands really deep, then he can explain it. Why? Because Netzach and Hod, which are at the bottom, they're like they're explaining to others, they reach up all the way to the top. And this also relates to Reach. It says about Mashiach that he judges, he smells and judges. So Reach, sense, is something on one hand which is external, on the other hand it's something from beyond. It's we can't internalize it because it's too high to internalize, and therefore this is connected to the level of godliness of Mashiach and also of the time of Adam, like we said earlier, and ultimately. All the 42 journeys are to get to Yericho, which Yericho, the word Jericho, comes from the word Reach, scent, and therefore connected to the beyond and connected to Mashiach, and we're getting all the way out of Mitzrayim, which means Mitzrayim Mekvulim, out of limitations, all the way to the highest level, sense, and which is like we said. Something which is beyond internalization, and now we understand why the journeys are 42 while Sfiras Omer is 49, because the journeys are going upward and sort of leaving Malchus behind, whereas Sfiras Omer is going is bringing godliness into everywhere, including into Malchus as well.